So fellow babies, we had a party. I invited my good friend Marcus Beer, the Annoyed Gamer, over. He never left. I found him sleeping on my boat. So fortunately, he opened up this good bottle of rare Irish whiskey given to me by my good friend Kevin Dent. Thank you, Kevin. And we decided to take a little boat cruise and talk about the year in review.
Yeah, we're going to set the world to rights, aren't we? I mean, this is what we do in the UK. We get drunk over some really good booze and we set the world to rights. And it's not something that Americans really do very often, I think, in the games industry, because everybody's just running around like crazy, going, oh, I got a meeting, I've got to do this, I've got to monetize, I've got to upsell. Well, we're just going to chill and drink and sort it.
Anyway, so here we are, Alamitos Bay, with my good friend, the Annoyed Gamer, Marcus.
Cheers, sir. Thank you for having me. All right, so our first topic is Double Fine and Kickstarter, and it really took off in 2012. Double Fine were the proponents. Their game blew everything open, and now everybody's Kickstartering and everybody's making lots of money. And I still can't get excited by Kickstarter. I really can't. I mean, and Double Fine, I think, are a prime example of this, because while I love Tim Schafer to bits, he can't hit a deadline to save his life. And I'll be interested to see, what happens when this game is supposedly going to hit for the first time, and we have that first delay, and we have the second delay. They probably won't run out of money.
Definitely not that. But you remember, Tim was trying to raise something like $200,000 or $300,000 or $500,000, whatever, some modest amount of money, and got $3.5 million or something. So let's hope that he makes a game with a $500,000 budget. Then he can exceed the budget, he can miss the deadlines, and he's still going to have enough money to finish the game. And he did say he was going to spend every penny that he raised, which is cool.
Oh,
it'll be a good game.
I've got no qualms with him spending every penny. I'm just wondering that, we've seen some Kickstarter games come out or not come out. We've seen some Kickstarters in the past couple of weeks where people have said we've had to down tools. We've spent our budget, the game isn't ready. We have, people are talking about pulling additional funding, or we need additional funding. And I think this is going to be the issue with Kickstarter over the next year. We'll start to see these products that are supposed to be hitting late 2013. And I don't think a lot of them are going to see the light of day. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to sit around and say, all right, do I get my $15, $20, $50, $100 back? And they don't.
Oh, no way they're getting the money back. And so, what's promised is a credit and maybe a t-shirt and maybe a lunch with the developer. Certainly, if the game gets published, they'll get their credit.
Yeah.
So you're right. I mean, the question is just, do the games get finished? I would say that the guys who have done it before, Schafer, Brian Fargo, games are probably coming out. And they raised a lot of money. So I hope that they're prudent. I hope that they budget 80% of what they raise, so that if there is an overrun, they're fine and they don't have a problem. And I know with Tim, because I talked to him about it, he fully intends to finish a game and spend all the money, and I think it'll be a pretty good game. People will be happy with it. He can always do add-on content, if he doesn't finish every little level that he wants to design.
Well, I think now he's raised so much money. In particular, the spotlight is on him to deliver this amazing game that is now a $3 million game. And like I said, I love Tim Schafer games. I think, he's always been this amazing developer who has yet to find a publisher who can understand and promote him properly. Brutal Legend had so much potential, but it was just badly marketed, and then there were some segments that were a little bit like the RTS segments, the tower segments. They didn't need to be in the game, and somebody needed to tell him no. And my worry is that when it's Tim by himself spending this money, it's going to be interesting. I hope for the best, but I would say that if somebody is looking at Kickstarter, don't expect the moon. Do some research. Look at the track records you said. I mean, Fargo, Tim Schafer, the guys behind the Shadowrun game I'm kind of excited for. But really do some research with regards to who you're backing. Not everybody is Cards Against Humanity.
And I have to say, for an individual to have fun and spend, as you said, $15, $20, $50 to take a shot, I think that's great. I mean, I'm glad that people are willing to invest. And if it doesn't work out, nobody gets hurt. No one's going to, suddenly be homeless because they invested $50 in Tim Schafer's project. So I think that expectations are low, and I think that most of the people who invested will be delighted just to have a product come out, period. I don't think at $3.5 million anybody expects this to be the next game of the year. I mean, possibly, but
you'll eat your hat.
Yeah, or I'll eat my hat. Yes.
Rohan, our lovely producer, is feeding us the next topic, and he wants us to talk about Steam Greenlight, and is Valve positioning itself to be a super player a la Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony with regards to this potential set-top PC box they're talking about. And I've heard your thoughts on it, and I think you should reiterate with regards to, first of all, I think the console. Are they going to do a console? Is it going to be viable? How's it going to work?
No, and it won't work.
Okay, so there you go. Next topic.
They're gonna do a Valve branded PC that will be probably a step up from a branded dedicated gaming PC. So you won't buy it, for office productivity, although I'm sure it will run, productivity programs. And I'm sure that it will, link better to Steam and do all sorts of cool things. But essentially, they're committed to PC gaming. They believe in it. They'll support it. I don't think they're ever going to manufacture anything. I think they'll sign a deal with, some prominent PC manufacturer, and they'll mass produce something. Sure. But they'll also regulate the specs, and they'll make sure that the thing, meets their standards and optimizes their games.
What about them doing a set-top box that is more along the OnLive model, where it is streaming PC games, where you don't have to worry? I mean, OnLive was a great concept with great tech that was just horribly marketed, and giving away that expensive set-top box when you really didn't need it. I could see a place for Steam to have a Steam box that is competently priced, so it's not making a loss, but you can stream your Steam stuff directly to. Obviously, Steam offers you cloud saves as it is. So it would make sense that if they partner up with somebody who has that streaming capability, that could be a great thing for them to have.
If like OnLive, you're running the client in the cloud, then that makes sense. But most of Valve's games, you're not. You're downloading a big client if you're running the game. So you need a place, and a processor for the client. You need storage, you need a processor. You can access in the cloud, but I think it's really more geared to be a PC than a box. I mean, what OnLive did was OnLive was the bridge between your PC and the internet and the OnLive server. So you needed an internet access point, and you couldn't do it without a PC, but you didn't download the client. So I think Valve, honestly, their games are so big. I mean, many things on Steam aren't, but you're certainly not going to play, Half-Life without a client.
So the Steam Greenlight is interesting, where it's almost like Valve is trying to push more of the indie stuff, and people get to submit their concepts, and people vote on if they want to see it on Steam Greenlight. Now, I got to say, while it is a noble idea, it's probably one of the most mismanaged things ever to come out of Valve. And I think, obviously, we're both good friends with Kevin Dent, who works on the Recoil game. I know they've been trying to get that, which is all, a game that's in beta and is almost done. Try to get that onto Greenlight, and you'd think it would be a perfect fit for that. But it just can't seem to get the traction, because people are putting up, well, I would like to see the very first Medal of Honor game on Steam, because people aren't being communicated to properly with regards to what Steam Greenlight's all about. And this is bizarre for me. I mean, Valve they write their own rules, but they are very, very good at PR. But they just seem to have dropped the ball. I mean, my understanding is you haven't really perhaps experienced too much about Greenlight. And if you don't know about Greenlight, that's a friggin' problem.
I mean, yeah, it sounds to me like it's intended to be a platform and an opportunity for independents to get their games published. And if that's what it does, I think that's great. And it sounds like it's not working in practice yet. And the question is, does Valve exist for profit, or do they exist for a better user experience? And I think a little of both. I think they're very enlightened capitalists. So they do things that will ultimately profit, like allow level design, which they don't sell any levels, but it drives more purchases of the underlying game. They've been very smart about that. I think they look at Greenlight as potentially creating a universe of independent content, and allows independents to come there, and they might get lucky and get the next big thing, the next big indie game, and it'll appear exclusively on Valve, on Steam. So I think that's pretty smart.
I think it's a great concept. They need to manage it better, but honestly, if they had to drop that and give us Half-Life 3, when is Half-Life 3 coming out? When is Gabe going to get off the pot and give us what we all want?
It's coming out April 14th, 2014.
Here to hear first. We're going to talk about the mass exodus, not the Mass Effect 3 ending, the mass exodus of people from the games industry. And I say mass because that's what Rohan told me to say, even though it is the BioWare doctors and Cliffy B. People are...
And Peter Molyneux, sort of, but not really.
Yeah, well, Peter's, he stepped away to do the Cube thing and then launch his own Kickstarter for Populous 96 or whatever it's going to be called. But, I mean, this is something that I covered on Annoyed Gamer this year. I don't think it's a bad thing that these guys are stepping away to recharge their batteries, or in the case of the BioWare guys, they're off to do bigger and better. I mean, they've served the industry for such a long time. And I think there are people coming through like Notch and, some of the indie development people like, was it Genova Chen? And of course, obviously the team behind The Walking Dead, eat your hat. I think games are in a safe place.
Yeah, I think that it's sad when immensely creative and talented people stop creating in the primes of their career. So I'd say that's true of the BioWare doctors. I'm not worried about Cliffy B, because Cliff will be back making games in a year or two. It's fine. The BioWare guys actually concern me because, here's two guys in their 40s. Oh my God, a porpoise right in front of our boat, like directly in front of us. There he is, see?
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool? Like he'll come up against a dolphin.
It's dolphin.
There he is. Isn't that cool?
That is so cool.
They don't come this far in usually.
Well, let's talk about the BioWare doctors then. I think that they've contributed so much over the years. I'm happy to watch them step away because, some people have said it's because of what happened with Mass Effect 3 and that ending and people bitching and moaning and the perceived failure of the Old Republic, which I don't think was a bad game. I really enjoyed the Old Republic.
Right.
Sorry, I just seen the friggin' porpoise. He's right behind it.
There he is.
There he is.
Wow. Are there?
Yeah, there is usually
There's one way back there.
Isn't that cool? It is pretty cool.
Now, what I have read from various sources and what I personally look to understand is, I don't think they stepped away because of Mass Effect 3. I think they probably stepped away because there was probably something in their contract saying we can step away once Mass Effect 3 is out and the Old Republic is out. Because those guys set up their own company, then they were bought out by EA, made a lot of money. I don't think they wanted to work as part of the big EA machine. I don't think they're probably as happy as they could have been. And I wouldn't be surprised if as soon as that contract was up, they were like, yeah, we're out the door because this isn't what we want to do anymore. This isn't what we love anymore. I think that's the biggest problem with why they left.
I can't argue with anything you said. So everything you said is accurate. I think that we have to realize that this industry it's a hard industry to create in. There are no shortage of jerks who will criticize everything. So Mass Effect being a 90 some odd rated game, getting people up in arms because they didn't like the ending is pretty crazy. But I think these phenomenally wealthy...
We have discussed this, and
so
there is a problem with
the entitlement
promising one thing and not delivering.
I understand.
And gamers are entitled to get what they're promised.
They're entitled to. I'm just saying that it's the level of venom, I think, that was launched at these guys that made the job less fun.
I don't think they should have gone to them because my understanding is they really didn't have that much input in the final ending of the game anyway. I'm understanding that somebody else basically took that onto themselves.
They could have.
They were
I
think
these guys are really proud of what they create. I think that once you get these talented people who no longer value coming to work, that they don't see any reason to keep doing it, I think we all lose as a society. So I guess the point is just that you have super creative people who, for whatever reason, decided it wasn't fun enough or worth it to keep doing it, and they wanted to do something else. We lose. That's all I'm saying. I would rather that gamers have more choice. I'd rather have more content to choose from. And yes, there's no question that guys like Genova Chen and Notch are supremely talented. I don't know who made The Walking Dead. I know it was Telltale, but I don't know who the developer was. Really talented guys. And that's great, but I'd like to have those guys and the BioWare doctors as well, and we're not going to have the BioWare doctors anymore.
Do you think after a period of stepping away, doing the philanthropic work that they're doing, exploring the world of microbreweries, I think as one is doing, do you think they'll come back? Because they do have a love for the games industry. They will always carry this cachet, and perhaps they will come back and do something small again, because they can certainly afford to start up their own company all over again. They have made a potload of money, and perhaps do something online, episodic even, through Steam or whatever, and step away from the oppressive culture that from what I understand, has sprung up at Electronic Arts.
Yeah, I think on the first anniversary of the Half-Life 3 launch, we'll get an announcement from the BioWare doctors that they're making a comeback and they're going to come out with a new game.
Wow, this stuff is giving you really amazing predictive powers, isn't it? Our next topic is, should baseball stars run video game companies and sign deals with small states who really have no clue what they're doing investing in them, otherwise known as 38 Studios?
The state thing is not his fault. The guy will take money from whoever wanted to give it to him.
The state of Rhode Island
they made a mistake.
Dumb.
Yeah, they were dumb. But that's not, you can't fault the guy who took the deal. You fault the guy who offered the deal. They made him an offer that they shouldn't have, and of course, if you need money, you're going to take it. As far as baseball stars, starting game studios, I respect the guy. I understand that he had $30 million of his own money in that. That's a lot. That's a substantial portion of his net worth. He lost it all. I've talked to at least 30 people who work for him. They're not pissed at him. I mean, they feel like he did everything he could, and he spent as much money as he should be expected to spend and lose before it stopped working. I think what's unfortunate is that the genre, being a MMO, in a Middle Earth kind of MMO, is just it's past its maturity. It's past its peak. And I think when he started, and I first met Kurt and talked to them about their idea back in probably '06. So they were working on this thing forever, and that's when World of Warcraft was going from 6 million to 12 million users, and it looked like a growth industry. And suddenly, on the back nine, World of Warcraft went from 12 million down to 9 million, and market dried up.
Everybody saw that, everybody who tried to release games to compete directly with World of Warcraft, Conan,
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, there's been a slew of these swords and sorcery games that have just come up short every time. And now WoW is it's feeling its age. I mean, I haven't played the game in almost a year. But I think that they should have had better advisors for them to turn around in 2006, 2007 and say, yeah, we get a piece of this pie, when EverQuest had already died out completely.
See,
and Conan was coming, and that literally was a damn squib.
You have revisionist recollection, because if you remember heading into the Star Wars Old Republic launch in mid-2011, people were really genuinely excited about that game and thought that it would grow the market.
Because it wasn't swords and sorcery.
No, understood. But we thought there was still a market for MMO. We just thought that space RPG was going to grow the market, and it turned out that didn't either. There was no hope for any MMO.
It was, phenomenally expensive chairs and desks, and it reminded me of the boom and bust philosophy of dot-coms during the late 90s. And again, it's great being a talented baseball star and a hardcore gamer who wants to make a game, but where was the business acumen? Where was his support structure with regards to business decisions, saying, yeah, we're not going to spend $30,000, $40,000 on a bunch of chairs for everybody. Yeah, we'll make sure they have the ergonomic ones that are comfortable so nobody puts their back out. But I mean, where, all this custom made stuff, do we really need it? And that to me is a level of immaturity that I didn't expect from somebody like Schilling or his backers. And then, people in the Rhode Island government who made that loan without doing their due diligence, they are just as much to blame as he is, as far as I'm concerned.
No, the government should never give money to anything that they don't understand. So, and I'm sure it happens all the time, but in this case, it was something we understood better than the state. I remember doing interviews the day that they gave those loan guarantees, and I said on the record, I don't know what the hell they were doing, investing in a game. Like, what a risky enterprise. And I remember being asked by reporters, is there a chance this game will fail? And I said, there's a chance this game won't come out, because they'd never made a game before. I mean, I know big, huge games have made a game before, but Kurt Schilling had never done a game before. So you were really taking a risk that, a completion risk, let alone, that they never get paid back. I am real surprised that there's not better oversight of government investment in things like that in creative arts.
And it is really sad for everybody who obviously lost their jobs and didn't get any severance, or especially after they'd moved out. So let me ask you this, and let's spin off a little. We know we have the Elder Scrolls Online coming from Bethesda. Skyrim has done phenomenally well. Fallout, I mean, they've really sort of like refined to quality over quantity every year.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they're doing Elder Scrolls Online and not Fallout Online. Fallout Online seems to me like more of a natural, based upon what you just said about swords and sorcery. And I think that they're asking for a very small market share with Elder Scrolls Online.
So do you think that will be subscription based, or do you think it'll have to come up free to play? I mean, every other MMO bar Warcraft, I think, has gone free to play. The obviously Star Wars we talked about, the Secret World came out 6 months later, boom, free to play. And
Guild Wars is free to play. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems to be the way that people are going now. It's hard to justify a big development budget. I mean, Bethesda can certainly afford to do something right. I think the problem that Bethesda has is they have to protect the brand. So they can't do a cheesy game. It's got to be really first rate because they don't want to hurt the Elder Scrolls brand. But on the flip side, even if they lose money on the Elder Scrolls Online, that keeps brand awareness, and they'll sell more copies of the next Elder Scrolls game, Elder Scrolls 6. So probably free to play, I agree.